Hey there, it's Norm from Tested, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Phantom 3 Professional Quadcopter. It's made by DJI, and these Phantom quadcopters are probably the most well-known, ready-to-fly quadcopters on the market. You can buy one, and after about 30 minutes, have it in the air and be shooting some pretty amazing videos and photos. Well, the Phantom 3 line comes in the Phantom 3 Standard, the Advanced, and the Professional, and for the past few months, I've been testing the Phantom 3 Professional. To answer one question, frequently asked question, yes, the Phantom 3 Advanced and Professional are actually worthwhile upgrades to last year's Phantom 2 Vision Plus. This Phantom 2 here was our first Phantom quadcopter, and it really impressed us with three amazing technologies. One, a really great flight system that was really stable and responsive. Two, an integrated camera system on a motorized gimbal that shot HD video, and three, an integrated video system. You can actually see that video in real time on a smartphone. Well, all three of those technologies are vastly improved in the Phantom 3 line. So let's go over each of them in depth. First, let's talk about the flight system. The Phantom 3 actually looks a lot like that Phantom 2 Vision Plus. It's slightly bigger, a little taller, but most of the flight system changes are under the hood. The motors, the speed controllers, and the actual power system itself are completely new and way more powerful. That power doesn't manifest itself in speed though. This flies at about 16 meters per second versus about 15 meters per second in the old quadcopter. Both ascend and descend at relatively similar speeds, but all that power manifests itself in stability and how much control and responsiveness you have when you're flying this thing. After a few months of flying it, I took that power for granted. It wasn't until going back to the Phantom 2 Vision Plus that I realized just how much more responsive and rock solid this flight system is when taken to high altitudes and fighting against winds. Now, key to the flight stabilization is GPS. As we explained last year, the Phantom quadcopters have access to GPS satellites. They can see GPS satellites and know where they are in positional space. That kind of positional tracking allows for it to compensate for external forces like wind. And we've demonstrated in the past by dragging the quadcopter by its landing struts, simulating wind and watching it fight back. And when we let it go, it goes back to exactly where it thinks it's supposed to be. Well, the Phantom 3 not only has access to GPS satellites, but also can see Russian satellites as well as part of the GLONASS network. Seeing more satellites doesn't make it more positionally accurate, but it does allow it to acquire that positional tracking faster, and it allows it to use the satellite system even when there are some visual obstacles or some interference. The Phantom 3 also inherits the optical flow stabilization system from the DJI Inspire 1. That's a low-altitude flight stabilization system that gets activated when the quadcopter is below about 10 feet. There's an ultrasonic sensor, sonar essentially, and an optical camera on the bottom of this quad that look at the ground and track changes in movement, shifts in movement. And that assists it when it's automating landing or also ostensibly for indoor flight. But after some testing, I'm still wary about indoor flight. Not because I don't believe that the Phantom can stabilize itself when it's hovering indoors, but because just there are so many more variables and obstacles and people in an indoor environment that I wouldn't want to put close to this quadcopter. In a warehouse, I'd be comfortable flying it, but at home, not so much. Another thing it inherits from the DJI Inspire is the Lightbridge video transmission system. Also a huge improvement over last year's Wi-Fi video system. With the Phantom 2 Vision Plus, video was transmitted over an unprotected Wi-Fi signal, and it also required a clumsy pairing process every time you want to take it up in the air. With Lightbridge, that's a proprietary 2.4 gigahertz digital video system made by DJI that extends the range from about 300 meters to a full kilometer, and that 720p 30 FPS video is fantastic. It looks great on the tablet and on the new DJI Pilot app. And while the latency isn't as low as, for example, an analog video system that FPV quadcopters and racers use, about a quarter of a second latency is still good enough for me to fly the quadcopter just by looking at that FPV video on the tablet. But as with all drones, if you're going to fly via FPV, you must absolutely have someone, a spotter, standing next to you with line of sight to the quadcopter at all times. Now, I mentioned the DJI Pilot app, and that is also a huge improvement over the app that we used on last year's Vision Plus. Not only does it run on tablets now, it's higher definition, lots of information overlays, telemetry, maps, flight logs, the ability to stream live directly to YouTube as well. It also is more responsive because it's plugged directly into the transmitter over a wired connection. I have it running on my iPad mini right now, plugged directly into a USB port. The transmitter is new, it's much improved. It looks a lot like the DJI Inspire transmitter in that it not only has the flight sticks for your thumbs, but also shoulder buttons and jog dials so that you have real-time control over camera settings, camera movement over that vertical axis, exposure control, ISO, all of that without having to take your thumbs off of the flight sticks. In the old controller, you had to tap the screen to change all those settings. It's so much better. You can be a single person flyer and cinematographer with the new system. On to video, which is probably the most important thing on these quadcopters. While the Phantom 2 Vision Plus shot HD video and could record 1080p, the quality of that video left much to be desired. On the Phantom 3 Professional and Advanced, the camera that's mounted on the motorized gimbal is a much improved 12.4 megapixel Sony Exmor sensor camera. And on the Phantom 3 Professional, that allows it to shoot 4K video, and on the Phantom 3 Advanced, really good quality 1080p video. I think this is actually the same camera sensor that's on the DJI Inspire 1 and also on the newest GoPros. GoPro doesn't say who makes the sensor on their camera, but if you pop open a GoPro 3 or GoPro Hero 4, it's very similar, if not exactly the same, Sony sensor. Video recording resolution is actually the differentiating factor between the $1,250 Phantom 3 Professional and the $1,000 Phantom 3 Advanced. And looking at the quadcopters next to each other, there's not a lot of visual difference. So unless there's some type of encoding chip on the Phantom 3 Professional or some more circuitry, I think it's an arbitrary distinction that DJI limited on the Phantom 3 Advanced just so they could have a $1,250 model and a $1,000 model. There's even now an $800 Phantom 3 standard model that can record in 2.7K video, but it doesn't have the GLONASS satellite system access or the optical flow system or that Lightbridge video. Video quality wise, the 4K video that comes out of the Phantom 3 Professional looks really great. Now, in a direct comparison with GoPro Hero 4 footage, for example, you might not notice a lot of difference, but the GoPro 4 has a slight advantage in that there is an HDMI out, which can output uncompressed 422 video that gives you more color grading options and post-processing options with something like DaVinci Resolve or even in After Effects and Premiere. What you get out of the Phantom 3 quadcopter is just that compressed H.264 video from the micro SD card on the camera. But I think one of the biggest limitations to shooting video with these quadcopters is just the fixed aperture and fixed focal length. The optics on the Phantom 3 Professional and Advanced are improved over the Vision Plus. It's now a 20mm equivalent, full frame equivalent lens that shoots about a 94-degree field of view image, and that's still wide angle. It's not as crazy fisheye as the previous camera, but it does limit the type of videos you can shoot. It's one of the reasons why when you go on YouTube or Vimeo, all these quadcopter videos look very similar. At least on the GoPro, you can adjust the cropping so you can shoot something that's ultra wide angle or all the way down to 90 degrees. Finally, the battery system. Unfortunately, the batteries on the Phantom 3 line are not compatible with the old batteries on the Phantom 2. These are a 3S battery, while this is a 4S battery, different voltages, and these batteries are kind of expensive. They're much more expensive than the LiPo batteries that you would buy on a quadcopter you build yourself, but that's also because there's electronics and voltage regulators built into these batteries to make them easier to charge. But they're also short in supplies, and they have been since the quadcopter's launch. In my testing, I was able to get about 20 minutes of flight time with these batteries, or about 15 minutes with some safety buffer after that to bring the quadcopter back to me. 15 to 20 minutes sounds like a lot, and it's a good amount of time if you just want to fly and have some fun. But if you're using this to shoot video for production, you're only really going to be able to get 1 or 2 shots, video clips, and a couple photos in each flight before having to recharge and take this up in the air. I really want to see the next quadcopters reach something like a 30-minute flight time. That would be really, really awesome. As the lineup stands right now, on the bottom end, you have the Phantom 3 Standard, which is only a minor upgrade to the Phantom 2 Vision Plus. Much better camera, but the control system and flight system is very similar to the last year's model. And on the high end, you have that $2,800 DJI Inspire 1, which has the 2-axis camera control, the 2 transmitter control. One person can be a pilot, another person can be the cinematographer and control the camera, and also that transforming landing strut that allows you to shoot 360 video without obstructions. I think that quadcopter is the only one that deserves that professional moniker. In the middle, you have the Phantom 3 Advanced and Phantom 3 Professional, both very capable, amazing devices, with the only differentiating factor being whether you can record in 1080p or 4K. But if you can't make use of that 4K video right now, view it or edit it, my recommendation is to get the Phantom 3 Advanced, save that $250, and maybe buy an extra battery or something like a carrying case. The Phantom 3s are still extremely capable, fantastic and fun devices and quadcopters to fly, and I've been having a lot of fun flying these over the past few months. So that's it for today. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more reviews, more projects, more awesome stuff on Tested. I'm Norm, and we'll see you next time.